artists, and welcome back to another episode of Paint Along with Skye. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Skye and I post beginning level acrylic painting tutorials here on YouTube every Saturday. So make sure to hit subscribe so you can join the fun and paint along, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified when I post a new video. Alright, this week here in the United States we are fast approaching our Independence Day, which is the 4th of July. I wanted to do a really fun red, white, and blue painting for us today, so I came up with a lovely sunflower composition done with, of course, red, white, and blue. I have my 4 standard brushes for today's course. Use these in the majority of my classes. Your brushes don't need to be the exact same as mine, but they should be the general same size and shape and meant for a water media. I like to use a square brush. This is a 3/4 inch square brush, and then 3 sizes of pointed brush. I have a size 10, a size 3, and a size 3/0. I'm gonna get those in my water cup off the side of the screen. To start with, for today's background step, we are keeping it super simple, simple as can be, with just some white and a little bit of gorgeous ultramarine blue. To see a full materials list of everything that I use and recommend, check the description box below, and it will take you to a materials page on my website that shows you everything that you need to paint along. All right, let's go ahead and jump on in with our first step, which is going to be as simple as it gets. We're going to grab our large square brush, and we're just going to mix up a really simple light blue with our ultramarine. We're gonna fill our whole canvas in with light blue. Don't wanna go too dark. Kinda was thinking like a blue sky kind of feel. And I'm gonna move my brush all around every way and get some nice texture. I have a little bit of water in my paint so that it soaks into the canvas texture nicely. I'm using a canvas board today. You can use canvas board, or I like the boxed canvases as well. I have some videos with those. But you want to make sure that you're using canvas. If you're following along with me and you're using the same amount of water, since this is a lot of water, we want to make sure that we are using canvas so that it can hold up. Water will get a little, or paper will get a little waterlogged. And I'm using a size 11 by 14, I believe. In many of my classes, you'll see me use 8 by 10. You can use any rectangular canvas. It is customizable, does not need to be the exact same measurements as my canvas. I like to mix it up, use whatever is available. And I use the horizontal format just because it looks best here on YouTube. But you can really customize any composition just by making it smaller or bigger. And you can even change the direction of the canvas if you'd like. Especially for paintings like today, which I feel like would look pretty good going the other direction as well, doing that vertical direction instead of horizontal. A little bit of variation here within my light blue, so some areas are a little lighter, some areas are a little bit more saturated, just to keep things interesting. And then once we have this nice base color for our background all laid down and looking pretty nice and textured, we are going to step away and let this layer dry completely, and then we will come back and add our gorgeous sunflowers. All right, and I'll see everyone in a couple minutes. Okay, welcome back, artists. We have a dry background and fresh colors on the piece of palette paper. So guess what colors I have? Is red, white, and blue, plus a little bit of black as well. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the good stuff here, which is going to be creating our sunflowers. I'm gonna do a little bit of sort of like sketching, only with paint. And I'm going to use my second to smallest detail brush for this. And I'm going to do 2 circles. These are going to be the centers of my sunflowers. All right, I'm gonna do one there, and then maybe one right there as well. Okay. And you're going to start to create the petals. And the way that I like to do that is by starting with the sort of 4 cardinal directions, northeast, southwest, or like a plus sign. And for this bottom one, I'm just gonna come right up from the top and bottom and the 2 sides, and then I'm going to fill it in from there with my petals. And we're just sketching things out with this step, and I'm going to have lots of petals. So you might even have some that go in between if you want to have a nice full flower, and it'll be easier to see all of the petals once we are filling in with our base colors. But for now, it's just going to look like a lot of white lines. You want to fill it up with as many as will fit. And I don't want to go all the way over to my circle here. I'll leave a little bit of space. And I'm going to overlap my petals a bit. So rather than going from the top, all the different directions, I think I'm going to scoot it over a little bit. This is the sketch step where we can do that. But I'm going to kind of take it on a diagonal instead, just so that it's like a slightly different angle of the flower. And so this is my new center. We're only going to keep the sketch lines that we want. And I'm going to come right over and overlap the petals, and that's going to be just fine. All right. And we're not going to see those sketch lines anymore once we get our base colors filled in. Just going to be keeping those ones we want. So this gives an opportunity to adjust things a little bit. It's just like sketching, only we're using a brush. There is nothing wrong innately with using a pencil instead. You can use pencils with acrylic paint. There's nothing wrong with that. And I do use pencils with my intermediate classes, which I only have a few of, which are through the membership program. You'll see me use, I also use reference photos and a grid, so it's a totally different technique. I like with our beginners, I like to just stick with the paintbrush, get used to holding it, and we're not getting too caught up in the details. It's also quicker because a lot of times it takes multiple coats to cover pencil lines, but art is, it's not like a recipe where you have to follow my exact steps or it's gonna mess it up, it's gonna come out terrible. It's not like that. This is a choose your own adventure kind of deal. All right, you can get creative, you can change things up, you can change the colors a little bit. You can mix media, you can use a lot of water, you can use no water. It might take you 20 minutes for it to dry, it might take you 2 minutes for it to dry. Every artist is different. It's not gonna look like mine, it's not gonna look like your neighbor's if you're painting with a friend. All right, looking good. Let's fill in our petals now. You gotta decide which one is which. I'm gonna do a white flower and a red flower. And since I have areas where my brush or my petals are going to overlap, I'm just gonna kind of go in between there with my white. And I know I'm gonna take my red right in there, so there's no point in doing white and then covering it with red. That's why we did this little bit of sketching, so now that we can see where we need to put our colors. I'm using a slightly larger brush for this. You could use your same one that you were sketching with too, if you'd like a little bit more control. Things go a little quicker with a bigger brush. We want to keep the paint going a nice smooth direction. Okay, so we're filling these in, but it's not, you know, it's beyond like a paint by numbers or something where you're just trying to get the color in there. The brush stroke direction itself creates a little bit of depth, especially with petals. This is a really great way, and with white too, so you can see how just the paint alone creates a little bit of petal texture. All right, loving that. Looking good already. And we might need multiple coats of white, and that's just fine. Especially if you went a little dark with your background, but once again, totally fine. And if you don't get very good coverage power and you can still see through the background, I want you guys to be able to guide yourselves a little bit too. All right, so it's possible that it's gonna look a little different than mine, and your painting might need something different. So don't be afraid to add those kinds of things, even if you're not following along. Take the training wheels off sometimes. All right, that's looking good. Making sure I got it all filled in. My petals make sense. They're going all the way around. Okay. I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm going to use that same brush to fill in my red petals. This is going to be a much more vibrant base color. And I'm just gonna add a pinch of white to it. I don't wanna go too pink because I want it to be red, white, and blue rather than pink, white, and blue. But a little bit of pink is fine too. And the white is going to blend a little bit, both from your sketch and from this neighbor flower, and that's all right. We're gonna use that to our advantage. Again, we're keeping our brush strokes going in this petal direction. So we are allowing that paint to blend a little bit and create some nice highlights already for us with what's called wet on wet blending. All right, and just remember always a little bit of water. I like to keep things from binding up on your brush. I find it easier to do these sort of big petals first. And then maybe I have a little peekaboo petal from behind. Nice full sunflowers. 'Tis the season for sunflowers. We have the most gorgeous wild sunflowers that grow here. Love to see them. And these are sort of inspired by that more small wild sunflower. But of course with our red, white, and blue patriotic colors. A little bit windy today. I actually am blessed to have my windows open because it is a gorgeous 74-degree day, which is probably the only day like this I'm gonna get until the end of August. So I hope you can hear a little bit of my gorgeous outdoor noises. It's a little bit windy here. Painting near a gorgeous open window. I'm not a creature of the heat. I wish it was 'tis the season of Christmas. Not 4th of July. But after 4th of July, my fall girlies know that the next holiday is Halloween. So it's a merciful turning point. I only need to make it through most of July. It starts cooling down here, usually in August, so we're lucky. At least, not too much torment. I'm very high up in altitude. All right. Me being high up in altitude also affects how my painting dries. So my painting dries really quick. If you're lower in altitude in a wet place, it's going to take significantly longer to dry in between steps. So again, you need to not be afraid to self-guide yourself a little bit if needed. I know I have a couple people from the UK watching. Except for you guys, it's probably going to be pretty moist. Nothing like New Mexico, that's for sure. Give yourself time and patience. Part of a large part of acrylic painting is literally just waiting for the layers to dry in between. And you gotta just be patient for that. I used to live in Oregon, so I get it. Oregon here is very moist all the time, very similar to my UK friends over there. I know I got some Aussies as well. For you guys, it is the opposite season. Lucky. Although you guys are probably not painting along in my 4th of July painting, so. Although it's pretty cute to do if you wanted to like mix up the colors. So maybe you are anyway. Let me know in the comments if you're an American like me, or if you're from another part of the English-speaking world. All right, I think I need a little bit more white. As per usual, I always end up needing more white. One moment. All right. And yep, my petals are already dry. But I see a little bit of see-through. I want to get a little bit more paint on so that it's just looking nice and solid. No see-through petals today. All right. Nice solid petals. First layer. All right, let's grab some blue now. I'm going to do the centers. So cute. I think I'm going to bring a pinch of black in, just so it's a little more of like a navy blue. I'm going to go right around the center here for the center of our flowers. You want to come out so that your petals are not floating anymore. You have a nice little row of petals beginning right at the edge of your circle. We're going to do that on both. You might get a little bit of blending. We want to avoid that. It's not the end of the world if you get a little bit of purple, but I want to go pretty true blue. So I'm going to fill in the center and then just bring it out to touch the red. Don't want too much of a gap there. Bring it a little further out. Always starting small because it's much easier to make things bigger than it is to shrink them back down. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, very cute. Let's leave the centers to dry for a moment now. We're going to go back into our petals. And this is actually a pretty easy class today. I'm going to grab a little bit of a beautiful gray. So just black and white together. And I'm going to come in here and add a little bit of like outlining, but also sort of like a shadow along the outside of those petals. So it's sort of like our sketch step when we started. Only it's not an exact science. Just getting a little bit of that shadow color on there. Especially where the petal meets the circle, the center there, and on these outside edges. That's going to create just a much cleaner look. Okay, make everything nice and tidy. Define our petals a little more. All right. And I might need a little bit more white on top too, since I still see a little blue. And if you go too heavy-handed anywhere with this gray, you can grab some more white right back on top and slim the line out a little bit. And you get some nice blending with the white and the gray. Looks good. Looks better to have it a little blended than to have it super like stripey. Just want to make sure that's nice and solid. Coming right up to my center. Smoothing things out as needed. Okay. All right, looking good. Okay. Gosh, I always use so much white. All right. Got our gray down. Gonna take one shade darker. Come in here, just do a tiny little bit of darkest shadow, just kind of through each section, but not on every single same side of the petal necessarily. So this is our darkest shadow. So a little bit in the middle here, just leaving as is. But I want a little bit right from the circular base coming out. Darkest shadow where the petals meet the center. And on the outside edge, that nice clean line on our background. Very light-handed with this, just tiny little flick of the wrist. And again, if you go too heavy-handed, just grab some white again. Worst case scenario is things turn a little gray, and that's all right. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to take that dark color in a few places and add a quick little line down the petal itself. All right. Those petals look pretty good. Let me grab my blue and just refine my circle because I went in a little bit, a couple areas with those colors. A nice smooth round circle, and I'm going to make it even more round looking with a dark blue. So just added a little bit of black to my blue mixture. We're going to take that darkest blue around the outside of the circle. Great. Super cute. All right, we're gonna now repeat those same steps up here in our red flower. But rather than the gray, we're gonna use a dark red. So remember we had a shadow color, but then we also are going to use black too. So I'm not going too dark with this first shadow color. Just getting a little variation. All right. Take your time with this, folks. That's the great thing about the digital format is you can pause me, speed it up, whatever you need. I don't think that it's a speed contest. I do personally feel like when I go a little quicker with my brush, especially with brush strokes like this, I tend to get kind of a more graceful brush stroke than if I were to slow myself down. And it also gives it a little bit more of like a painterly feel. Sort of like a little deliberately stylized. It really depends on what you're going for, but with these beginning courses, I like to have a little bit of stylized brush strokes, and I like to keep things quick and easy for your sake and mine. Because I still have a day job. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Help me grow the channel. Maybe one day I will not have a day job, although no promises, because I actually really like what I do, which is edit, copy edit. And they work pretty well together. A little bit of reading, a little bit of painting. All my favorite things. All right. I'm gonna do a few brush strokes sort of through my petals. I think that this red one needs a little bit of highlights too. So let's grab a pink. I'm gonna do a real quick pass in some of these areas with a lighter pink. And if you want, just for a little extra depth. But again, red, white, and blue. I think red, white, and blue. Okay, and a little bit of black for our red flower as well. We'll keep things looking consistent. Two flowers matching. All right. Finding more I need to do in my first flower. Jump around as needed. If you like these sunflowers, I do have a sort of more traditional looking sunflower painting. I also have a sunflower painting that's purple, and it has a little bug. That's really cute and very spring-like. Even though we're in summer now. These are a really easy and quick way to do sunflowers. Although not that quick. Whenever I do petals or blades of grass, I'm always just so amazed and in awe of the natural world and the time that universe or God or whatever you'd like to call it, just how effortlessly it creates details. Reminds us to be patient and grateful of the beauty around us. All right. I'm gonna go back into my blue center and just make sure I have a nice solid blue. And my red flower. All right, and some navy blue for our outside edge. Keep smudging that area. Going to need to touch that up later. Look at that. Very smudged. Okay, yeah, let's see here. I'm just tidying things up a little bit because I touched it with my arm. All right, but not that bad. Okay, our final step today is going to be to add our stars, and I think that really adds a little something something and makes today's painting just very patriotic. But I want our blue to be completely dry, and then I want to come in with a clean brush. I think I'm going to get clean water and a tiny bit more white as well. So let's go ahead and step away for another few minutes, and then we'll come back and put on our final touch. All right, final step, everyone, is just going to be our gorgeous white stars, which I think add a very nice little element here. I'm going to add them with my smallest brush. So sometimes this really tiny guy comes in handy. And I'm just gonna come in here and I'm going to add stars the way that, just like you would draw a star with a pencil or a pen. Everyone has a slightly different way that they do it, but that's going to be the, one of these type deal. You can always use your paper table to practice a couple too if you need. Okay, and very delicately I'm just going to add those stars in. And I'm going to try to create a little bit of like a pattern rather than it being totally random. All right. Okay, so maybe I have 3 in a row here. Maybe I have a little peekaboo, half a star. Coming from off the side, and how cute does that look? That's definitely the most patriotic element. Okay, so adorable. Let's see, so that's going to be there. That one got a little crazy. If you need to, you can always touch things up a little bit, back again with your dark blue. Okay, so grab some dark blue if you need to. And refine things a little bit. If your stars get a little crazy, you can adjust as needed. Definitely gonna adjust that one a little more. That looks pretty cute. right. And we'll add our stars down here as well. And that is all of the steps for today's painting. If you did paint along today, I would love to see your work. And I've created a Facebook group called the Art Club, where you can join us and post your paintings, whether it be from painting along with me or just from your own imagination. I want to see it. Seeing everyone's masterpieces, especially from the tutorials, gotta admit, is the best part of my day. I really love to see you guys having fun with these. That's what I do these for. It's for you guys. And you can share that with me and also with the other students who are taking the classes. We have a really amazing group of people over there, incredibly kind and supportive, growing every day. Just like the subscriber base as well. If you're painting along, I love that you're here. Thank you so much. But make sure and join us over in the art club too. Since there's no way to share photos here on YouTube, at least yet. Right, very cute. I might put some other little final touches or details, anything that I think might be needed, but that looks pretty cute to me. I like how our patriotic sunflowers turned out. Let me know what you thought of today's painting in the comments section below. And that's all we have for today. So happy 4th of July to all my fellow Americans. And thank you so much for painting along. Can't wait to see you over in the art club. And until next time, stay creative.